So my name is David Forrester, and I'm here at the Ananda Forest Garden. It's an 80-year-old orchard, the best we can guess. When Ananda bought the land about 40 years ago, this orchard was mature then, and Ananta McSweeney believes it was about 40 years old then. And the trees had fire blight and sun scald and all sorts of problems, but they've been very productive over the course of the life that Ananda's been here. And so we are trying to resuscitate them and make them really strong and vital for another 40 years or more, and which is much longer than the average apple tree tends to live. So what we did was first we dug some swales, which are basically just ditches on the higher part of the land to hold water and slow it down so it would percolate into the water table and rebuild the water table. And it would give the trees extended irrigation past the rainy times. And it has worked because John Orlowski's science or high school boy class came to the orchard just last week, and they did soil samples. And they did a soil sample outside the fence where we hadn't done anything to the soil, had made no changes except a little pruning, and the soil was dead and dry, no life in it, no observable life in it. And then he came inside the fence and dug out under a tree that had been sheet mulched, which is cardboard and compost and chips, just for about 4 months. And they dug down and it was moist and it was teeming with life. It had microorganisms and earthworms and protozoa and nematodes and all beneficial soil creatures for the soil food web. And it's the more diverse it is, the better it is and the stronger it is. So the goal and the intention here is to create a primarily perennial food forest that will serve Ananda for decades, for 10, 20, 50 years down the road, and be self-sustaining, so that if resources are limited, such as water, compost, other amendments, then it'll perpetuate itself much like an old growth forest would, but grow a lot of food for Ananda's consumption. So this is the sheet mulch, and underneath here what we did was to inhibit the grass from growing, and to keep watering needs down is we put about 2 to 3 layers of cardboard, wet it down, put about 6 inches of compost, and then probably about 6 to 9 inches of bark chips. The bark chips will insulate the compost will feed the bacteria and the other microorganisms. Orchard trees tend to like more a fungally dominated soil, and that's what the fungus feeds on the chips. So that's why the chips are here, and then the compost will keep the grass down. So it all used to look like this, and now under the tree we will have this. So it will reduce the mowing, which will reduce fossil fuels. It will reduce watering needs, so we'll save on our water, and it'll also help the tree throughout the summer grow more fruit. So what we've done here is we've covered the tree with some fresh cow manure and a combination with clay and some water to protect it from both sun scald and fire blight, as well as rotting. This tree is rotted on the inside, but it's still alive on the outside. So we've painted the inside after brushing off a lot of the dead wood, which will hopefully protect it and renew it. We've also pruned it pretty heavily because there was a lot of growth going upward that would not fruit, because fruiting limbs are at about a 45-degree angle. So this way the fruit will be brought down closer towards us so that we can actually pick the fruit and consume it and enjoy it instead of having to be on a lot of tall ladders. And it also lightens the amount of weight that this trunk needs to carry. And then these are codling moth traps. And it's a combination of molasses and vinegar and water to attract the codling moths in this hole here, which tend to eat the apples and make them not very yummy. And then they'll be attracted to the molasses and die a happy death.
So Elsie, I wanted to show you these walnut trees. You'll see their little twigs down there. The whole idea is that the walnut trees grow really, really tall, like 60 feet tall. And they will reflect sunlight back. They're on the north side of our food forest, so they create a solar bowl. And the reflection of the sun coming off their leaves will warm the orchard so that the fruit will have a full time to ripen. And it also for our purposes, we wanted to define an edge of where our food forest ends. So that's why we have 3 walnut trees creating a rim along the north slope. And they like their roots wet, so they're down toward that soggy area so that they won't be unhappy down there in that moisture. So they're down far away because also most things don't like growing under walnut trees. So they're further away so that they won't inhibit all the shrub layers and the medicinal herb layers that we're going to plant. And I think that's pretty cool. It's fun to use the trees to reflect the sun, maximizing the use of the sunlight, which is part of the principle of a food forest. By design, we'll maximize the use of light and warmth. There you go.